Senator Bishop, would you like to present a committee report?
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. I present the report of the Economics References Committee on the performance of the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, together with the Hansard record of proceedings and documents presented to the committee, and move that the report be printed.
The question is that motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Senator Bishop.
I move that the Senate take note of the report. Mr Acting
I'm sorry, Senator Bishop, but you need to seek leave to move a motion in relation to the report.
I seek leave to move the motion, Mr Deputy President.
And is leave granted? There being no objection, Senator Bishop, leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr Deputy President. Mr Deputy President, the tabling of this report represents the end of a year-long review of the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, Australia's corporates, markets and financial services regulator, ASIC. The inquiry into the performance of ASIC was an important inquiry and, in my opinion, one long overdue. In essence, this report consists of a number of smaller reports that sit within a wider, comprehensive examination of the performance of ASIC. It draws on the personal accounts of hundreds of Australians who shared a common experience. Generally, the submitters were hard-working, honest Australians, many approaching or already in retirement, who, through no fault of their own, lost significant amounts of money and, in some cases, their nest eggs. Their loss and suffering was the result of irresponsible and self-serving advisors or brokers or other financial service providers who, for their own gain, peddled bad advice or unsafe products. Many of the submitters asked us, where was ASIC? Where was the corporate watchdog? The committee understands that ASIC has limited resources, but even allowing for that constraint, ASIC appears to miss or ignore clear and persistent early warning signs of corporate wrongdoing or troubling trends that place the interests of consumers or investors at great risk. To be blunt, the committee found ASIC wanting. It was unable to connect the dots with information in its possession. It allowed itself to be lulled into compliancy while corporate wrongdoers continued to abuse their clients' trust. The committee has reviewed many cases of ASIC responding slowly to misconduct reports or an emerging problem. I want to focus on one case study only: the Commonwealth Financial Planning, a subsidiary of the Commonwealth Bank. Between 2006 and 2010, several of its financial advisors and other staff exploited clients and engaged in serious misconduct. Advisors deliberately neglected their duties and placed their personal interests far above the interests of their clients. Assets were allocated into high-risk products without the client's knowledge and to the financial benefit of the planner. These actions were facilitated by a reckless sales-based culture and a negligent management who ignored or disregarded non-compliance and unlawful activity as long as profits were being made. In summary, the committee found the conduct of a number of rogue advisors working in CFPL was unethical, dishonest, well below professional standards, and a grievous breach of their duties. In particular, the advisors targeted vulnerable, trusting people. Both ASIC and CBA seem to place reports of fraud in the too hard basket, ensuring the malfeasance escaped scrutiny and hence no one was held to account. The CBA's compliance regime failed, which not only allowed unscrupulous advisors to continue operating, but also saw the promotion of one advisor, thus exposing unsuspecting clients to further losses. There was inordinate delay in CBA recognising that advisors in its CFPL business were providing bad advice or acting improperly, and when this conduct became apparent, the CBA failed to act promptly on that knowledge and inform clients and ASIC. ASIC was too slow in realising the seriousness of the problems in CFPL, instead allowing itself to be lulled into complacency and placing too much trust in an institution that sought to gloss over its problems. ASIC didn't pay sufficient attention to the whistleblowers who raised serious concerns about the conduct of one of the most serious offenders and the actions of CFPL. The committee's doubts about the handling of the CFPL matter only grew as the inquiry drew to a close. Recent developments whereby both ASIC and the CBA have corrected their testimony about the compensation process for affected CFPL clients have intensified the committee's misgivings about the integrity and fairness of this process. It is concerned that many clients may not have received adequate compensation. The committee is now of the view that the CBA deliberately played down the seriousness and extent of problems in CFPL in an attempt to avoid ASIC scrutiny, limit adverse publicity and minimise compensation payments. In effect, the CBA managed for some considerable time to keep the committee, ASIC and its clients in the dark. This case highlights how trusting the regulator is of big business. ASIC either didn't understand or did not demonstrate sufficient scepticism of the information put to it by the Commonwealth Bank. It was only since May this year that ASIC has begun to understand how the compensation schemes were being implemented. Clearly, there was fundamental and widespread problems within the Commonwealth Bank. It is essential that all rogue advisors are identified and that any conduct that may amount to a breach of any law or any professional standard is pursued. Further, all affected clients must receive just compensation. As noted earlier, the current compensation arrangements are far from adequate. At this stage, the committee's confidence in ASIC's ability to monitor the CBA's implementation of its new undertaking regarding the compensation process is severely undermined. Furthermore, the CBA's credibility in the CFPL matter is so compromised that, to my mind, responsibility for the compensation process should be taken away from the bank. The time is well overdue for full, frank and open disclosure of the entire CFPL business. Given the seriousness of the matter, the egregious nature of the conduct, the potential number of clients affected and the lack of transparency during the compensation process, I believe that a Royal Commission should be established. This is not a recommendation that the committee has made lightly. However, the evidence is so compelling that a Royal Commission is warranted. This scandal needs to stand as a lesson for the entire financial services sector. Firms need to know that they can't turn a blind eye to unscrupulous employees who do whatever it takes to profit at the expense of vulnerable clients. This inquiry underlined the critical importance of ensuring that Australia has a robust corporate regulatory system under the stewardship of a strong and effective regulator. The committee's recommendations are designed to help ASIC become a self-evaluating and self-correcting organisation, to be a proactive regulator with teeth that acts decisively but also fairly. The recommendation recognises the need for ASIC be alert to emerging business models or new financial products and to match the inventiveness and resourcefulness of those in the industry who seek to circumvent the law. The committee's recommendations go to matters such as improving or strengthening ASIC's understanding and appreciation of Australia's corporate environment and those it regulates, building ASIC's analytical and investigative skills so it is able to discern early warning signs of unhealthy trends or troubling behaviour, ASIC working more effectively with other industry and professional bodies to ensure that it has strong, constructive and cooperative relationships with all the financial system gatekeepers, a review of penalties currently available for contraventions of the legislation that ASIC administers and making enforceable undertakings far more robust, transparent and effective in bringing about the desired changes. As I said at the outset, this was an important inquiry. I regard it as a wake-up call for ASIC. One of the best outcomes of this inquiry so far is that ASIC itself has begun to examine its performance and consider how it can do things better. The regulatory system will be stronger and more resilient if ASIC keeps this up. I commend this report to the Senate.
Thank you, Senator Bishop.